A true and faithful relation to what passed for many years between Dr. John Dee and some spirits, 1659, Meric Casaubon. And at the bottom of this page, it has uppercase c, lowercase c, and I, Edward Kelly, by good and provident, according to the laws and ordinances of God, determination and consideration in these former actions, that is to say, appearings, shows made, and voices uttered, by the within named in this book, and the rest whatsoever spirits have from the beginning thereof, which at large by the records appeareth, not only doubted and disliked by their insinuations and doctrine uttered, but also diverse and sundry times, as coveting to eschew and avoid the danger and inconvenience that might either by them themselves or the drift of their doctrine ensue, or to my endamagement diverse ways happen, sought to depart from the exercises thereof, and with all boldly, as a servant of the Son of God, invade against them, urging them to depart, or render better reason of their unknown and uncredible words and speeches delivered, and withal often in sundry times friendly exhorted the right worshipful Master John Dee, the chief follower thereof, as also in the records appeareth, to regard his soul's health, the good proceeding of his worldly credit, which through Europe is great, the better maintenance to come of his wife and children, to beware of them, and with all to give them over, wherein, although I friendly and brotherly labored, my labor seemed to be lost, and counsel of him despised, and with all was urged with replies to the contrary by him made, and promises in that case of the loss of his soul's health, and if they were not of God, whereunto upon as it were some farther tale of them. Did I say and if they? There's no and. Whereunto upon as it were some farther taste of them, our opinion grounded upon the frailty of zeal, he ceased not also to pawn unto me his soul, and so on, which his persuasions were the chief and only cause of my this so long proceeding with them, and now also at this instant, and before a few days, having manifest occasion to think they were the servants of Sathan, which means the adversary. Shathan, the word that's used in the Bible, means the continual scourge. And the children of darkness, because they manifestly urged and commanded in the name of God a doctrine damnable, and contrary to the laws of God, his commandments and gospel, by our Savior Christ, as a touchstone to us left and delivered, did openly unto them dislike their proceeding, and brotherly admonished the said worshipful and my good friend Mr. John Dee to beware of them. And now, having just occasion to determine what they were, to consider all these, and before we go on, worshipful as in, respect, not, that this guy was like some intermediary divinity or something. So all these things before mentioned by me, and wisely to leave them, and rather because of themselves they, as that by their own words appeareth, upon our not following that doctrine delivered, gave unto us a quietus est, our passport of freedom, but the books being brought forth April 22nd at night, after some discourse therein, after a day or two had, and their words perused, spoken heretofore, did as it were, because of the possible verity thereof, Deo endem omnia sunt possibilia, gave us cause of further deliberation, so that thereby I did partly of myself and partly by the true meaning of the said Mr. D in the receiving of them as from God, and after a sort by the zeal I saw him and bear unto the true worship and glory of God to be, as that was by them promised, by us promoted, descend from myself and condescend unto his opinion and determination, giving over all reason or whatsoever for the love of God. But the women disliked utterly this last doctrine, and consulting amongst themselves gave us this answer: the former actions did nothing offend them, but much comforted them, and therefore this last, not agreeing with the rest, which they think to be according to the good will and wholesome law of God, maketh them to fear, because it expressly is contrary to the commandment of God. And at the margin we have the women. And thereupon desiring God not to be offended with their ignorance, required another action for better information herein. In the mean, bowing, fasting, and praying, Mrs. D hath covenanted with God to abstain from the eating of fish and flesh until his divine majesty satisfy their minds according to his laws established, and throughout all Christendom received. To this, the request of having an action, I absolutely answer, that my simplicity before the highest is such as I trust will excuse me, and because the sum of this doctrine given in his name doth require obedience, which I have, as is before written, offered, I think myself discharged, and therefore have no farther cause to hazard myself any more in any action. And in the margin we have an action required by the women. Wherefore I answer that if it be lawful for them to call this doctrine in question, it is more lawful for me to doubt of great peril, considering that to come where we are absolutely answered were folly, and might redound unto my great inconvenience. Therefore, beseeching God to have mercy upon me and to satisfy their petitions, doubts, and vows, I finally answer that I will from this day forward meddle no more herein. 22nd of April, 1587, by me, Edward Kelly, and it has been permitted. With God, all things are possible. Kind of makes God sound like a trickster, doesn't it?